This sucks, Cassie.
Save it, Neil.
I know.
Save it for after the clap.
3, 2, 1, clap.
Go, Neil.
Hey everyone, welcome to 4 Top 3s. Let's start it with Cassie.
Hi, I'm Cassie.
No. Cassie?
Hi.
Cassie,
Why?
Hi.
why'd you do this? This sucks.
I thought you want to chime in?
Okay. Hi everyone, welcome to 4 Top 3s. I'm V, I'm from Britain.
Hi, I'm Cassie. I'm from Germany.
I'm Aether, and I'm from Westmanad, Iceland.
I'm Neil and I'm pissed.
So,
Love you too, Neil.
no, actually, I'm Cassie.
Yes.
Cassie, what is this episode?
Okay.
Difficult.
So, yeah, I wanted to do one where we talk about the inspirations we had for the things we do for Blighthouse, because I think we should at least once in a while link back to the things we make.
Yeah, you
This
said
is a
inspirations and then you specified.
because my brain thinks in German words, so compound words and stuff like that. So basically the things that inspire us to our current creations. So I had to kind of specify it a little bit more, because just inspirations would be a bit weird. I wanted to really know what
would it.
I mean, inspiration is a weird thing. Like, different things inspire you depending on your mood or like the time of day. Like, you would answer things differently. Oh, you're so mad.
Cassie.
See, I see. Okay, I'm gonna step back because I was only fucking around. As soon as you said inspirations for Blighthouse things, my brain went bosh. Oh, I'm done. Great, move away. So I actually found this stupid easy.
You have all of TLD.
So yeah, exactly. I found this super easy for me to fuck around with, but I have that, so I was actually okay with this. But for me, this feels a bit like
homework.
Your favorite song, and we need it to have it like honed down a little bit, so it's a little bit easy for us to do. And I think by having inspirations, my brain was like, fuck, and then you were like, for Blighthouse. Oh, that's much better. So I'm aboard. Thank you so much for narrowing that down, Cassie. I'm with you on this.
Yay!
Well, I'm not very inspirationed, so I was happy with the original thing.
Yeah, I don't sit and make characters with like a lot of inspirational thoughts in mind. You know what I mean? I kind of like look at the book and just like play with it. I don't.
No. That's also a source of inspiration. No,
it is more music. You narrowed down what songs I can use, sure, but like also all of these are just songs now. All of our episodes are just like me using songs. If you guys will stop having songs featured on our podcast, stop asking me what I like.
All right, top 3 things we hate. Neil, song I hate.
Also a thing you can choose.
Yeah, bottom 3. Our bottom 3. That's our April Fool's episode.
But like, that's the reason I said the inspiration for the things we create. Like, it didn't have to be like just music. It could, like, if you open up a D&D book and you see like a random sub-character class and you're like, oh, this sounds like something I would like to play, then that's also a source of inspiration.
It's not inspiration. It's just what I'm going to play.
Oh my God.
Monk wasn't inspiration for Raw.
You weren't inspired when you read the very dry text of 5th edition Monk description?
No. In fact, I ignored most of it, and I just decided to...
Okay, but
1d6 unknown damage as a bonus action?
Oh, inspiring.
Guys, actual worst. You want the actual worst.
But I mean...
We're fucking around.
There must have been a part of you that went into a D&D book and looked at Dragonborns and was like, okay, how can I fuck this what is the thing called? The breath up the most. that must have been a source of inspiration. Come on.
See, I think I know why you were a Dragonborn. Because at least for TL, if you don't listen to TLD, this is not going to make any sense for you. So lucky die, go check it out.
Like, honestly, what are you doing if you're not listening to TLD?
Yeah, well, what are you doing here? Go listen to like 11 days of that before catching. No, don't listen to us, please. We need the numbers. But like, you chose Raoul because when we started TLD, I'm like, hey, I'm really bad at this lore shit. So everything I vaguely understand is over here, and you can play them, and that's super easy. Everything I don't understand is going over there until I can be bothered to learn how to deal with that properly. And then if you want to play a Dragonborn, it's possible.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard mode. I'd rather that you didn't, and you went, I'll take that.
You said that, and I pitched an idea, but that idea had existed in my head before, and that is the same situation that we're in with another certain thing that we're gonna start soon. We're in the when I started Raw, we were in the same boat. It was just a mechanical character concept in my head of smashing an idea of a race and class combo together with a certain concept. And that was Raw. The end.
That is still inspiration. I think you're thinking of inspiration as you look at something and you're like, oh my god, all these ideas that are floating in my head.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what I consider inspiration. It's like random little bits that make you go, oh, it would be interesting to see those in a different context, or influence the work I'm currently working on, or something like that. It would be very interesting. Then that's also inspiration. It's not like a Eureka! Oh my god! I suddenly have this Dragonborn in my head who's fucking sick. It's gonna change the world.
I'm like that with like 20% of TLD characters. They've just pop fully formed into my brain. I'm like, well, now there's the book. That's how that happened. And she wouldn't go away, so now you'll have to deal with it too.
You fuckers
all
need
right,
to
Kessie,
survive.
let's start. Yeah, let's start with you, Kessie.
Yeah, Kessie. Why don't you just go ahead and tell us, huh? Why don't you just go ahead and tell us what inspires you, huh?
For
Why don't you just
counterbalance.
teach us about inspirations? Inspire me, Kessie.
You know I can do that, Neil. I don't have that ability in me.
No one does.
All right, Kessie, let's have your third or one of the things for, I'm guessing counterbalance is what we're going to go for.
Yeah, because I wanted to make it for like everything we do for Blighthouse, and the main thing I do for Blighthouse is counterbalance. So one of my main inspirations was an audio drama podcast that aired like 2009. It is called Second Shift. It's about 3 teenagers from Boston, I think it was, that are like get transported into a fantasy world, and they meet 3 other people of their same age there, and I don't want to say they go on an adventure, because the first thing they do in season 1 is basically they open up a delivery service.
Adventure. We're gonna bring going postal to this world.
But it was the first piece of media in which dummy me, because I'm a very dumb person, was able to actually see the symmetry in like different characters. Like, oh, this character from Boston is actually the counterpart to this character from the other world, and it had very a beautiful symmetry to it, like the entire cast. And it was the first time that I actually could see like character arcs evolving, that character choices actually affected how another character changed their way of thinking, or like changed their behavior. Like taking what the other character has said to them into account, and basically affecting the entire journey of this character. And as I said, I was a very dumb child, so that was literally the first time I could actively see that, and I was like, wait, this is a thing? And I wanted to write something that like played around with this idea, or like on use this idea and try to use these things that I just learned, basically, and see where I can take them. And so that was my inspiration.
That's like the main interactions between Lynn and Maliki and Arka, is how they're affecting each other.
Yes, exactly. That's why I started the story in the first place, because I have other stories set in the same world, but I wanted a blank slate. So that's why I started Counterbalance. I was like, okay, let's start with new characters and embed the idea of them having very opposing opinions within each other, or like before I wrote anything, I made a big analysis sheet where I wrote down like what these characters' opinions on different things are and where their differences lie and stuff like that. And like I later channeled that into the writing. But yeah, that all came because I listened to Second Shift and it was like I did have like this, wait, this is happening thing in my head. Like, and ever since then I've been looking at stories from a different angle, more from this, I can see exactly this is the point where this character is having the turning point, which is not something I used to be able to do before.
I think I know what you're talking about. I don't know exactly when I had my like realization of this as well, but there was some piece of media, may have been Avatar: The Last Airbender, where I realized that you could have characters like mirror each other while both of them stand for completely opposing ideals. And you could see how the ideals kind of affect the way they move through the world. And it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
However, having this realization and starting to look for it is maybe the biggest like maker of hate in your life. Because as soon as you realize that there's such detailed writing available, and then you go and you watch like the new AAA movie that just came out with like Sylvester Stallone, and you're like, all right, now the bad guy, he stands for all these ideals, and the good guy stands for all these ideals. Now let's see their ideals clash. Oh, they just shot each other. Oh.
Oh my God, they jumped out of a helicopter and into a Ferrari that was driving 180 miles per hour across the street.
Yeah, so that's what the movie's about. They're not about watching these two characters interact and their unreconcilable differences. It's about watching a dude jump out of an helicopter into a Ferrari at 180 miles an hour. That's what the movie is about. Like, that's the entirety of why the movie is made.
No.
Inspiring.
See, I understand that. Like, when I go see Batman, I don't expect a deep thriller about two opposing characters with ideals, even though that's what it's supposed to be about. But then I go and I watch, like, Avatar. Like, that movie, the blue space cats, like, that movie was supposed to be super deep and philosophical about, like, ideas of capitalism and naturism and blah, blah, blah. And then you watch the movie and it's just blue cats having sex with their hair, throwing spears at planes. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. It has no fucking point, but it's supposed to. And also, there's no reason not to
but they spent much more money to make it.
Yeah. It made everyone blue dabba dee dabba die. Like,
James Cameron was like, where do I go with all this money?
I know, I'll make another one.
I'll make another one.
No, like like everybody understands, like the blockbusters are just supposed to be like good fun, like eye candy, entertaining and whatever not. And then there are things that are supposed to be deep and philosophical, but there is so much shit out there that thinks it's being deep while it's still playing in a kiddie pool. Like it's so shallow, a lot of it. It's so unimpressive, and it thinks it's being so clever, but it's not. It's terrible. And that's where I identify with what you're talking about, Cassie. It's the idea that, like, oh, we could have these, like, really interesting, really deep character moments, but instead we don't know how to work our way towards that. Yeah. That's also like a really annoying thing is when you have two really good ideas, really good characters, and then the writer doesn't know how to make them clash, so they just kind of like...
Yeah, it's like watching like two separate movies. They just happen to be walking along the same path for like 20 minutes, and then they just like go off and do their things. Like, I'm less interested in that. I'm more interested in how they affect each other. Like how they, even if their end goal is exactly the same, watching them change is interesting. But having like 2, 3, 4 main characters and they just don't really do it. Like, you could tell their story separately and it's the same story. Like, that's boring as fuck. But from what I have read of Counterbalance and listened, go listen if you haven't, they don't do that. They interact. They affect each other.
They have good reasons to interact, intrinsic reasons to their goals as characters, you know?
Yeah.
Hey, you're fucking up the fucking tangle weave. You ain't running away from me now. I have it and you have no proof. All right, well, I'm putting you under house arrest until I can prove it. There you go. That's a fucking understandable character motivation for two characters to hang out that don't like each other.
See, I've been like imitating Malachi because all I hear through the recording wall most Thursdays is Malachi yelling, and Aethel said, "Please stop doing that. It makes me unhappy." So I want to do something right now, but you need to understand I'm holding back.
You can you can imitate him as much as you want.
Well, that is a good. Thank you for that, Kessie. I can at least see where that appears in Counterbalance, and if you listening haven't, go listen. This is like going to be the most self-wanky episode in the world. No, I'm going to lean into it. I'm going to fucking lean into it. Go listen to Counterbalance. It's amazing.
Are you going to sprain your wrist?
I think so. It's more the angle. It's the leg lift, I think, is going to be the problem.
Patting yourself on the back while jerking somebody off. It's just gonna...
No, myself.
Your wrists are going to be blown by the end of the episode.
So much...
No, she's jerking someone off, and that person is patting her on the back for it.
Yeah, Thank you, Kessie. Thank you. Self-love is still love. All right. Aethel, you're next on my screen. What have you got?
Okay, so Cassie absolutely fucked me with this topic because I have three things on the Blighthouse Studio right now. I have Squash, Gref, and Malachi's voice. Malachi's inspiration for his voice was literally just a random drug dealer who made explosive on a random podcast I did once. So I'm not bringing that up.
Name it!
Name it.
Liberty,
We're self-ranking
critical
episodes,
research. So... I don't remember the name of the character, but he was an explosive maker. Trip, really?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it was an explosive
I was just going to call him Nipples, but that may be just how I remember him.
Yeah, so I was the voice of a character named Trip, who was an explosive maker, but he was also an addict, and he was like fighting to get a job so that he could fuel his addiction, and that's the voice I picked for him. And just like a little bit of a higher screecher, more animalistic, slightly just whatever you want to call it, is Malachi.
Well, let's be honest, I didn't give you much of a choice. I heard that voice, I was like, give me that voice!
And that's what you got. So
the only alternative I knew of
Trip.
you was Jonas.
Yeah, Jonas just my voice, so boring. So just inspirational in general for just a lot of my creations, a lot of things I do, and maybe future Blighthouse projects, is listening to other people dissect stories. It is the dumbest thing I do. I listen to multiple hours of YouTube content of people just dissecting stories, talking about character interactions and how they're mirroring each other and flipping, bouncing off each other, and how they are being affected by the world and the world is affecting them. And I love that shit. And I write down little notes to myself all the time of just like little thoughts that I'm just like, that is a really clever idea. I may never use them. I may throw them in a character or in a podcast or into a D&D thing, but that's a huge inspiration for me. And definitely Gref, definitely Squash have been affected by my unhealthy consumption of wanky literature people on YouTube.
I feel like I do the same thing. I love watching those analysis videos more than I like watching the actual content.
Neil, you could just have said, "Oh, that was on my list too." Take one thing off your list. Done.
No, I watched. There was like a popular recommended video that came across a couple people's things, and I was one of those victims of the UK version of Utopia. And I watched the whole 7-hour video before I watched any of Utopia, and then I went and watched it, and I wouldn't stop talking about it for a while because it was the first TV show I'd watched in a couple years. I don't watch a lot of TV, like sue me, you know. That's what I've got to talk about.
But what you're talking about there is what me and Kessie were talking about earlier. It's the you watch somebody break something down and you're like, oh, this is like really deep and cleverly written and these characters have really cool motivations. And then you watch the show and you're like, wow,
I'm going to analyze this differently than I might have initially. Yeah.
And then you turn around and you try to watch the 8th season of fucking Ring of Power or whatever. And you're just like, who are these people? Why are they doing the things they're doing? This is terrible. You're all terrible people.
Isn't that silly? How could they just forget a strong military thing?
Yeah.
Not naming no shows. Naming no shows.
That's why I said Ring of Power. 8th season. Yeah. No, I know exactly what you're talking about, Neil. But yeah,
Guilty.
My third thing is basically just listen to other people talk about stories, learn from other people's failures, and learn from other people's successes. That's fantastic inspiration for your own creative juices and has affected Blighthouse Productions. And hopefully will in the future.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. All right, Neil, what have you got?
Okay, I'm gonna not start with music, but the next two are probably gonna be music. I'm just gonna lay it out there.
How,
Be prepared.
how did you find the non-music thing?
It wasn't necessarily an inspiration, quote unquote, but it is something that I had in mind. I think I might have mentioned it, but I can't remember, when we were discussing like the pacing of Rawls and spoilers, like obviously, of Rawls' sickness. When we were discussing how it was going to be paced through the movie and stuff like that, I intentionally at the time dissociated his sickness and everything from a lot of real world things. Anything that was too real or might bring up traumas and stuff like that. Just so everyone's like, Neil, why didn't you list this movie or that movie that are sad for this way? Intentionally. But something that I think that I mentioned as far as like pacing it and showing a character whose basically health is rapidly deteriorating was District 9. He suffers a lot in that one. And just in terms of pacing his sickness out, that was for some reason, and probably because I was intentionally dissociating it from real sicknesses, I had that kind of in mind for the pacing of...
Yeah, we've spent a lot of time before we started recording figuring out what kind of mechanically are we going to do with this, to how is this going to break down harder, and what is the ultimate kind of thing we're looking for this. And I think we've managed to dance a really delicate line between something that is relatable and something that is not specific. And most of that has come down to your portrayal of Rao, not my roll this dice until you fall apart. Major props for keeping abreast on that.
I definitely wanted to set this in fantasy. I did not want this to represent anything too real. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think you've done admirably with Raul when you're faced with the problem of an ever-growing character in power levels a la D&D.
Thanks.
I think you've done a good job trying to make sure that people understand, like, yeah, I'm doing more dices and damage, more numbers, but my character is weaker and sicker and more prone to acid attacks than before. And I think
deviated from a lot of like the traditional growth of a character and their own goals, because you know, a monk would usually have monk-like goals. Raul doesn't know he's a monk, this and that. You know, he doesn't know abilities by name. He just exists and grows and like, doesn't think about it too hard. You know, I didn't.
See, that's like a two-way good thing for me. One, it's a really good character, like, of no, I'm not a monk. What the fuck you want about? This is just things I can do, and that leads really well into like his sickness and his ultimate like thing we have set up with the specters. Again, spoiler, please go check that out. But also, it's really more interesting than I'm going to run a monk. It is, I'm going to play a character, and as they evolve, they're going to be able to do like touch things and get health back from that. They're going to be able to make people scared of them because they'll be able to grow wings and look like death. Like that is, in a storytelling mechanism, way more interesting than I now have touch of death. I am now able to look scary. That is just. It's storytelling, beautiful, and mechanically way more interesting for me because it makes it story, and that's way more interesting for me.
That class and this concept and everything just kind of meshed really well together, and I didn't want him to be knowledgeable about like what was happening. He's just not that.
I also like
character.
The time when you leveled to, I think level 9 it was, when you would usually have gained like acid resistance or whatever, and you chose not to take that. Like you're being mindful of the skills that would actually make your character basically immune to this the thing. But
that was the talk we had.
Rewrote a couple things. Yeah.
to bring it back to District 9 as an inspiration, I just kind of have to admit that I was in the completely wrong headspace when I went to see that movie. Genuinely, throughout the entire movie, I was like, where are the aliens? What are they doing? Like, I was in such the wrong headspace.
They're trying to get home, April. What do you mean? It's quite simple, really. They're stranded and they want to get home.
Yeah, but why can they not communicate at all? Why are they like homeless people? Like, I get the allegory. I get what they were going for. But I, as a viewer, I wanted to see some alien space battle bullshit. I wanted to see some intergalactic, like strife. I wanted the aliens to go like, we came here for your rocks. And we're like, oh, well, they're our rocks. They're Earth rocks. You're going to have to trade us some cool mechanics and space tech. But no, humans had like failed to turn on a single piece of space tech. We do actually get some space tech action in the movie, but like the movie was basically just slums with aliens. That's not what I wanted. Look at that. Look at the cover of that movie and tell me, yes, this is an allegory for immigration, homelessness, and prejudice. tell me that when you look at that fucking cover.
Oh no, there was no rescue for the aliens. I don't know why. There's probably an explanation.
Yeah. And by the way, while we were talking about it, I decided to Google like the movie again just to like see still images. Back in 2021, the maker of the movie, District 10 is coming, guys.
Oh my God. Goodness.
Fuck off.
I don't know. I thought it was a good standalone. It's an intense movie. Mm-hmm. It did what it was trying to do fairly well. So
yeah, I think like stories that tell a particular story, we need to stop milking them.
No.
We need to stop like saying, oh, hey, let's make a District 10 if District 9 told the story it was meant to. Like, unless you're actually adding to the conversation or changing it or trying to show a different side of, like, the story you're trying to tell or point you're trying to make. Like, unless you're like, immigration is great. And you actually, the next movie is immigration is bad. Unless that's where you're going, don't bother making a sequel.
Unless you already embedded the ideas for a sequel in the first one, when you're like, maybe if I have the budget for this, or like, if this ever takes off, and I will think about it. If you add those things,
like don't tack it on.
For it. But don't like finish a thing like a self-enclosed system and then try to add to it. Don't do that.
Yeah,
especially in like the last part. Don't stop it.
There's definitely the theme of them being like kept in a camp and the conditions being much worsened gradually. If I remember properly, they don't have. I'm trying to remember the story. Kind of off topic, but I think they were just like a worker ship, like very commoner mining ship or something like that, and it just like got stranded and crashed, and they had no way of contacting people to let them know, and they needed to get someone off of the planet so that they could, because of course when they were here, we were definitely keeping them from doing anything, so they couldn't.
They don't explain it properly in the movie as far as I know, but yeah, you're basically right. Like they were a worker ship that didn't have any leadership to come let them out, give them access to their tools and let them do their jobs. This was not a very advanced like military operation ship. These were not people that the government would come like looking for necessarily. Like they were probably assumed dead, you know. They were probably well out of their range of communication or something, But, thematically with the character's hardship, though, it's where I'm getting, like, where I was thinking back to.
I have one. So I have one for 4 top 3s. Mm-hmm. I have one for Kino. And I have one for Discoro. So I'm not going to rank them in any particular order. I just decided I do vaguely 3 kind of different things, plus an honorable mention, which I will do. So which one do you want?
Well, 4 top 3 needs to be number 1. So start with...
Okay, yeah, clearly.
Discoro, because it was the first one.
Yeah.
All right, Discoro. So Discora's true origin, the thing that inspired it all, apart from the panic of, oh shit, I said I had an idea and I may have been partially lying,
every DM
is
ever.
every DM ever. I have an idea. If I say that, I'll be forced myself to write something. So I looked at a character sheet because that's where I thought I'm going to start. And I looked at the character sheet and I thought, wouldn't it be cool if we did one of those things where people didn't actually know what their stats are? Because that makes sense. Like, you don't know what your physical stats are. You don't know what abilities you have. Like, you learn them and develop them over time. And I thought, no, that's a shitty thing to do to a player. What if I did that to a third character? Oh, that's an idea. What's an idea? What if they have to build him piece by piece? And that's how that started. So it was like, okay, so we now have 6 pieces. I guess each of the stats could be associated with like an armor piece. Yeah, a trinket, that would work. I'll put them all on an armor stand. So now they all have to be a thing. All right, why does this exist? Well, fuck. So yeah, all of this is because a D&D character sheet and pressure. Pressure and panic.
And you guess what you did?
Yeah.
Guess what you made out of it? A diamond.
Diamonds. Better some of its hull.
Are you calling D&D coal?
Yeah. It's
it is.
Filthy and dirty and yeah.
Just grim. We made it into something pure and nice. Oh my god, we are really wanking ourselves off today.
Do you want me to get you a wrist brace?
Thank you. Like, I was looking at character sheet and that had an idea, and I'll break them into things. And I always like the idea of weird cults, but they actually work together for a greater whole. I'm like, ooh, each of the pieces gets to have a cult or a sect or an assembly. Great, wonderful. So we have like the sect of the shield, and then we have like the fourfold. And I wanted to throw one of my old character concepts in there because I kind of think it's funny to always hark back to your first D&D games, which is why I've mined some of the players for their information about stuff. So yeah, like there's just it started with the character sheet. That's how that stupidity started.
It started with Marnak.
Was there no specific inspiration for the cults?
Not really. I looked at each of the like stats. So, like for example, if we want to start with the shield, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, here's a shield. So I'll call it the sect of the shield. Yeah, but that should only be a certain amount of them that I do alliteration for, because otherwise you can have the cult of charisma. You could have like the sect of strength, the initiative of intelligence. I'm like, no, fuck that. So yeah, like I just took them one by one. What would make sense? So intellects, what kind of weapon or something on an armor piece would be? Well, sometimes the phrasing is like your best defense is knowledge. Great, perfect, great. Put it on a t-shirt, print it. And then you have things like strength. Like, well, clearly that needs to be a big ass weapon because you got to be strong. And I love hammers, so fuck it. So they all just kind of develop from there. I'm like, okay, so if there is a charisma based thing, and charisma is sharp as a wit, so that gets to be a rapier. And like, okay, how does that cult work? Well, they're based on charisma, so they should be about talking. And that's how the Gentleman's Dueling Club came about. Like, there is just that. So each of them had like a small idea, and then that kind of helped to build the overall story of like, all right, so this person that they're building can't be a major part. They can't be consistently interfering with the plot, because otherwise that takes the focus away from our players and their stories. So they got to be in the background somewhere. They're over there. And then Arch went, I want a voice in my brain. I'm like, great, perfect. I'll bring that back in. So that's perfect. Great. This is how they get involved. So over time, the character concepts managed to help build back into like how all of these different things like merged and worked together. So yeah, that's kind of how that came about. I don't exactly know how Kells came about. I know there are assemblies dedicated to each of the things, and I knew who hosted her. I'm like, yep, fuck it, this is going to be a thing. How that all came about, unless somebody asks, I don't know yet.
How did it came about?
Yeah. Iguatfo, my babe. Iguatfo.
I tried, guys, I tried.
So yeah, that was the story. Like, all right, so the focus of season 1 is getting this person back together and weaving the personal stories into a thing. And then the end of the story will be them putting Marnak back together, and they see him walking out the mirror, and that will be it. And then they realize that is a shit ending. I need to come up with something else, but that didn't happen till far later. So yeah, that's
That would have been
how Discora.
blood if you ended TLD like that.
Yeah. I realized that there were so much more to the characters we need to finish exploring. And I'm like, well, fuck. And I kept putting it off, I think, until like episode 100 and something, 105 maybe. After I think we were fighting Quingle and Gareth, was when I had solidified in the back of my brain everything I needed to start dropping in place for the Sentinel reveal. So yeah, and I don't really know where that came from. That was just like, actually, I do know exactly where that came from. So this is an honorable mention, but it's in anyway. End of season 4 of Buffy. There is a very specific thing they do where they have Giles and Willow and Xander and Buffy, and they each hold a specific part of this super Buffy that they're about to create. And that's how the end of Discovery came.
I'm trying to kill you before you say
ending.
this.
The absolute ending, the thing that has yet to even come up in recording. I know the final parts of that, and that has just been in the back of my brain forever, and I don't know where that came from. So when you hit the last scene, that came from my brain. I don't know where that came from. So good luck with that. There you go.
It's wild to hear something you're so invested in, and somebody goes like, "Oh yeah, Buffy and Monarch. Those are the keystones to this construction. The foundation.
The founding stones.
The foundation is the D&D character sheet. Okay, that's the foundation.
I honestly thought you would have started like with, I want 3 characters in prison, and like the world is ending.
Yeah, that's a normal starting point.
Yeah.
No, like in the podcast in That's Not Name, like a bunch of us were hanging out afterwards, just like talking through and dealing with our emotions. I'm like, maybe I have an idea, and I was like, I don't know, maybe I could come up with a story. I mean, I love stories. That sounds like a great idea. Well, fuck. That's all that started. Sorry, Neil. I lied.
Drag Neil into this.
Well, there we go.
I have an idea. I just watched Buffy. I'm full of ideas at the moment.
No, Buffy came later, Neil. I promise. It came later.
No, your lies. We've already know you're a fool of lies.
No!
It's Buffy all the way down, isn't it? Staging his spike. He's gonna have a redemption arc, isn't he?
That is for season story 2 of TLD. Is Dacia's redemption
I swear to fucking
when he
Christ,
starts getting with Squash.
I will delete every file I have access to if you try to give Dacian a redemption arc.
I will hunt
It's a
down
redemption
people's
arc. He ends up with
cell phones and delete everything they've downloaded. I will wipe this thing of the earth.
Hey, do you listen to TLD? Holy shit, are you the voice of Squash? Snap.
That phone cost me $400. It doesn't now.
God, it looks like a piece of trash to me, so here's $5.
All right. Cassie, what do you got next?
Okay, so next one on my list was the music of a band called Wadruna, which apparently has been confused with Varunwa before.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh. Oops,
Uh-oh. They were the first music. So before I listened to their music, I used to listen to mainly medieval music, as we have established somewhere in the past before. And there used to be like a German radio that played them. That played all sorts of medieval music, and for some reason, one of their tracks got in there. And they aren't strictly medieval music; they are more like paganistic, neo folk music. They focus a lot on runes and Norse mythology, and when I listened to them, what sprang to my mind was that they did not use basically runes as a way as divination or whatever, like the typical esoteric ways of using them, of being like rune strength and whatever, but as a way to practice introspection. which I personally found very interesting. And like that's kind of what their music is all about. And that's one element that I wanted to use in Counterbalance when I started. I already had runes in my world before I started Counterbalance, but then I was like, oh, this is something I could probably play with as like an element in Counterbalance. And I lost my train of thought. Oh no! They in their music, they're also using a lot of natural elements, like sounds of sticks, of nature. Like sometimes they record in the forest and make something with that. As I remember, I don't think all of them are studio recordings, or like at least they mix them in there. And I personally found that very interesting, and is also like a big part of what I wanted to channel into Counterbalance, like this very based in nature element. Yeah, so that's why they are on my list.
It's kind of wild to hear you say that that's the inspiration for the runes in Counterbalance, because the runes feel like so much more. So it's like it's a very soft inspiration, if I can like use a phrase like that.
Yeah, they are like a soft. Like as I said, I already had the runes before that. It was like almost 100 runes that I had, and I was like, I used them for language purposes, basically, because I'm a fanatic for constructed languages. And but like I was like, what else can I do with them? I don't know. I cannot use them in an audio drama because they are purely visual based.
Yeah.
But then like what Runa came along, and like they had like ways of using runes in their tracks that I was like, oh, so this is something I could probably play with in an audio format, or like a way how I can use that and kind of connect it back to, you know, character development and, like as I said, introspection, and how these runes are based like in what this character is at the core of them, and how it changes them and how it roots them and so on.
Yeah,
and that is how I channeled that into my writing. Yeah, that's oh.
You release the runes with each episode, though, right?
I used to do the runes of fortune at the end of the episode, just to give, like, because I use a lot of terminology in the story that does not get explained, or that just doesn't get explained yet, but maybe later. But I don't do those anymore right now. I used to do them before I went on hiatus, but I wanted to do like little sheets that kind of like explained what the runes meant, like what the word is, the meaning behind them, what the energies are, I guess. I don't know how to paraphrase that.
Well, I hope you continue to do it, because I'm a huge fan of worlds that feel like they were. I'm a huge fan of the Counterbalance world, because it feels much bigger than the story, and it feels constructed. Like
it feels like an actual world.
Yeah.
Like there are things going on in the background, and there are reasons for all of these things that are yet to be explained or may never need to be explained. Like we don't need to necessarily know why like 2 pointy up sticks means that this part of the thing is broken. Like it doesn't really matter. The fact is that it's broken and needs to be fixed. Like there is so much going on in this world that is beyond I'm here solely for plot reason.
Yeah.
Like, no, let's do some world, and you do a great job at that. And you should go back to doing your Feihu Little Mortals, because I enjoyed the shit out of that. I enjoyed it. I thought I was out of my mind when I hadn't heard it.
No.
But, yeah,
I'm gonna have to do one for an episode that might already have dropped, episode 10, because it definitely needs a disclaimer.
Oh,
content warning.
Content warnings. Well, thank you for that. Aethel, what have you got? What are you doing?
I'm doing Graph next.
Oh,
nice. Do you want us to leave the room?
We can leave.
You know, Graph's made up.
Yeah.
So, and you can't see anything below my like chest area, so you guys are fine. Stay right where you are.
Is Graph already down there? Oh boy.
So
didn't really fit in that tiny cabin of yours. Oh my.
So, Graph has dumb inspirations. I had to really, really dig down to remember or understand where Graph came from. Because Graph was created kind of on a whim at a very silly point in my life. I'd just gotten into a long-term relationship. Things were kind of looking up, and life was just like all around just a little bit better at that time. It was getting better at that time. And genuinely, the original inspiration and creation of Graph, the first thing that I put down on a piece of paper for Graph was I was trying to make a character, and my brain went, wouldn't it be cool to have a character with 2 big swords, and he swings them around like they're really light? And my brain went,
wow.
Yeah, that is cool. I like that. And then I figured out how to do that at level 1. And that's why Graph ended up a human. Like, that's how fucking complicated that decision was. But the inspiration for why Graph is traveling is maybe a little bit sillier. A little bit sillier. I don't even know how to phrase this. I had gone on a little bit of a rampage of watching what is called shonen anime, which is basically Dragon Ball Z. So the ones that I had watched were Hunter x Hunter and My Hero Academia. And those are episodes or shows that are literally just about a character getting stronger to fight bigger, better foes. That's all those shows usually are. They're just about becoming better and overcoming bigger odds. And I think that's where Graph comes from. I don't know that I genuinely thought about this, but I sat there and I was like, what's Graph's deal? And I'm like, oh, hello. What if he just wants to become better? Just a better version of himself. What if he's trying to prove himself to somebody or something? Yeah, that's a character I've never done before. And I think back in my brain, there was Gonen or whatever his name is in Hunter x Hunter. And I had the stupid character from My Hero Academia too. And both of them are these like characters that just want to become better and greater. And it's just like, I think that's where it comes from. And I don't have a better explanation for Graph than that.
I know. He's what's the guy's name? Armstrong from Alchemy.
No, Graph does not have the charisma to stand up to Armstrong.
No.
But that's what he wants to do. That's how he sees himself.
Oh, the final season.
See episode 1 of Kino.
The final episode of Kino, he will invent his own like battle techniques. Passed down through the Graph Peace Bleeder family.
It's so funny that, and I don't think we've seen any of this, but Iris definitely did not care for any of that shit. He definitely was trying to rein you back from being a show-offy.
Yep. Which is why
all kinds of trouble time.
That's why Graph and Iris had such a fun dynamic in the beginning. That's why them bouncing off each other was like funny in a weird way. I think.
I like we sit down like before we do any of the characters, guest characters and side characters and stuff, and we do like a what do you want for your character? Or is it what do you want to explore with them is a question I sometimes ask. And the answer I have is clear driven goal that isn't necessarily a main story for the main story's sake, having a real reason, a perfect way to achieve their goals. Yep. That's it. You had one driving motivation.
Is that what I wrote?
That's what you said?
What?
Like, yep, you just want one very clear, defined goal that's not necessarily anything to do with the main story, and that's what you want him to do. And your clear, defined goal is, let me find it. Prove your worth and your strength against current champions. Mm-hmm. Oh no, this episode would have come out already. To return to Propeller and be her actual... be the very best to be her actual champion. Like, it's your motivating goal. You want to be strong enough to kick the ass of her champion.
Like no one ever was.
Graph.
And if Ash can do it after 20 years, Graph can do it after 20 days.
Oh my god.
Oh, what a reference. What a pull. V, are you watching Pokemon right now, maybe?
No, but you all need to be so proud that I picked this up through osmosis.
I created Graph with a very singular goal. That is not wrong.
Yeah,
but yeah,
one very singular goal.
In the back of my head at that point, there was definitely a lot of like inspirational, getting bigger, getting stronger, getting more powerful like thoughts in my head. and I was in a very like newly found positive place in my life, and I think that also helped create a character that was more jovial, more happy, more interested in being expressive in his happiness.
Yeah. So we don't always have to have like deep philosophical goals of our characters. Sometimes I just want to have two swords and beat the shit out of stuff.
You made him a deep philosophical character.
We did. We molded him into something better, stronger.
By the way,
find an inner strength.
V's reaction when I said, "Can I be a human?" may be the funniest thing I've ever experienced.
Oh
what do you mean, can I be a human? You're doing the exact same thing Neil did.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
So Neil and I have been speaking about Ivorus, and you were like, yeah, this is going to be really hard or really difficult, and tee-hee-hee. And then I knew in the side of my brain, like, Ethan wants to be a fucking human. Nothing is going to be as bad as that to try and deal with.
Everyone was difficult for you.
Yeah, they actually were. All of you were so difficult in Kino. You're all so difficult.
You can be anything you want to be. Except for that. And that. Fuck it. Whatever.
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 Yeah, whatever. Yep. Whatever. Fuck it.
You know
Look at
what?
it and edit.
You know what? I dislike all of you. Whatever.
Is your top inspiration the My United States of whatever? That's your top inspiration?
I think that's the thing I quote the most often, apart from it is the yeah, whatever, when I've just given up with shit, or do what you want, mother's drunk. My mum used to say that a lot, so she wasn't an alcoholic, she didn't really drink, but it was just something she said when she was like fed up with us kids doing stupid shit. So yeah, no, that is not my top inspiration.
Too bad.
All right, Neil, what have you got?
Okay. It's a song which involves us sitting and listening to it for a while. Because, and again, most of my inspirations for these things are not like necessarily 100% like lyrically involved. Like I definitely put a lot in all of my playlists just based on vibes of characters and stuff like that. They don't have to necessarily 100% lyrically do anything, do any justice for the character. But I did try to pull a couple of the things that were a little more leaning towards that. And I guess since we're talking Kino, I'll just do Ivor's first.
Dope.
Okay, so the song is Cropsy by Have a Nice Life, I guess is how you pronounce that, Cropsy. Yeah, bit of a slow burn.
Your music taste is dangerous, Neil.
That band, I like them a lot. They a lot of their, in fact, pretty much all of their production is very smeared in reverb, and all the different notes kind of bleed together and come from different places and everywhere, and it's all kind of very dark. But yeah, a lot of raw is in that band too, in various different songs. But so yeah.
This is Raul's song or Ivor's? I thought you said
that's
Ivor's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see the lines so very clearly.
Yeah, there's. I think that one was a very easy pick for my Ivor's playlist, because there's definite themes that you can connect for like his fear of being kind of kicked out of something that he was given. You know, I like them a lot. They're a good band.
I pulled up a lyric guide for this, and highlighted in the middle of the song is the sentence, "'Cause I've been waiting on anyone to show up and throw me out of here." Now, I don't know what the original artist meant by that, but that, like, in my head, the first thing I identify that sentence with is staying at a bar too late. And I knew I should have left a long time ago. I shouldn't have been drinking until like 4 or 5 a.m., but like, I'm just waiting for the fucking guy to come kick me out. Like, I should have left a long time ago. I don't belong here right now.
I have to admit, I entered like a trance state while listening to that, and at some, like, I was just staring at the image on your screen, and at some point I started seeing skeletons and stuff like in the wall in the back.
Spooky.
Yeah, but I think that's a big underlying fear of the character, and so those lines kind of like made sense with the character in that regard. And I can't remember the rest of the lines offhandedly, but just a lot of tidbits here and there.
They genuinely fit really well, and I would highly recommend going to listen to the song. It's linked below. It's gorgeous.
I like that band a
All
lot.
right.
It's so weird. The production being all smeared in reverb. Every single
Yeah.
one of their songs is like that. But it's so cool. It's very stylized, you know?
Yeah.
It's a conscious
like I said-
effort, conscious choice.
Like I said earlier, like you have a dangerous music taste. Like if you had thrown this stuff at me at my like early 20s, late teens, this would have fucking infected my brain. I love this kind of shit.
Yep.
All right. Because you told me that 4 top 3s has to come last.
Mhm.
Sorry, first. Whatever. I guess it's Kino.
Fitting the topic.
Yeah, continuing the Kino theme. So Kino didn't go the way my inspiration had intended.
Whose fault is that, V?
And that's
Eight
the
more.
3 of y'all.
What?
And then
What did I do?
Cassie added to the chaos that is this.
You didn't say
So-
no.
Kino, you may have noticed, has a vastly different feel to Discora, and that's because the prep behind it is vastly different. So the inspiration for Kino is actually a game I ran 5-6 years ago, set in a sci-fi setting called Spaced. And the game was called Bringing Home the Bacon, and it was actually on YouTube, and I've added a link below to the entire series. And that was actually based on a story I read, and I've mentioned this before in our like sci-fi books our top sci-fi books. And it's called Shoot the Humans First, where you have some people who are working for the government, and later on they find out that the whole thing is a complete and utter lie. So that's how the Space game came about, but the Space game immediately fell apart and became something subtly more different, which is like a specialized team, and they're being sent out on missions, and they find that the person in charge is not working with the government, and then it's your choice on whether you work with or against them. You guys saw through that ruse in about an episode and a half, possibly because our episodes are much longer in Kino.
You also did not bury the lead. The first thing we did was abduct a mother and a child.
I know, it was gorgeous.
Are we the bad guy?
Oh, yes! Yeah. Squash was
Squash. Yeah, and with your characters, I'm like, I need to throw in the plot because I think that's more important than my overall plot. And Kino is more spaghetti against the wall. Here's a bunch of leads and a bunch of things that you're doing and a bunch of things the world are doing. Do what you want, but I also have to fit it within the timeline of Discora. So it's a little bit more wild. So it's not exactly rudderless or pointless. I have a goal for you guys to go to roughly, and if you change it, fine. I'll change the goal again. It's not a big fucking deal. So yeah, that's how Kino got started. It was based on a space game that was based on a book called Shoot the Humans First, and you guys have run with it in a very strange direction. And now I don't know what it's based on. I'm just running with it month to month. I have plot lines I have written off to one side, and then I have like some encounters which are based on random things here and there. Yeah, that's that. That's Kino. Yeah, if you want to see some parallels of what I was trying to go to, please go read Betty Black's book. It's really good, and the follow-up Battle for Jimmy Hollow, also amazing. But yeah, so that's where Kino started. It started in a space game where you're working for a slightly iffy part of the government. And yeah, it is now where it is.
Now we're on a boat.
now we're on a boat, motherfucker. Actually, I don't know where we'll be at the point of recording. This is 7
Probably
months
on a
down the
boat.
line, I think. Not on a boat.
Probably
Hopefully
on a
not
boat.
on about a fucking boat still. Yeah, so that's where that is. Like, mostly for Kino, it is reacting to what your plans are. And then there are some like really specifically weird little things that I have that were inspirations for things. There's a place that y'all are coming up to, which is very much inspired on the book Magician by Raymond E. Feist. There's a thing that's happening there. Also, The Tempest is a thing that is heavily inspiring what's coming up next for Kino, which for y'all listening will be so far in the past, it's unreal. I had to come up with the system of governments, and I had to come up with different places and how that works over there. And the idea of the streets are paved with gold was how Shyvana came about. The idea of the technology of the future from the point of view of the Victorians. That's where Shyvana came from. And I think that's probably based on some Doctor Who shit that I was watching at the time. So yeah, that's Kino. There really is not much to say about that because y'all broke everything.
So the slight deterioration of worship and the rise of technology, that's Doctor Who inspired?
Kind of, yeah. So there's a Doctor Who episodes that are often like hark back to Victorian Britain, where you have Lizard Girl and her wife, and they also have technology, but it is still Victorian. So it's that kind of like steampunk idea, but we don't have steampunk in Kino or Discoverer yet, maybe ever.
You had
so I just needed,
which is close enough.
Yeah. So yeah, that's how Shyvana started. It was a place of like religion isn't the key thing. Nobody really believes in the gods. It's all about science and technology and all that kind of like excitement of like the streets are paved with gold. Everyone has a chance to succeed in what they do. But of course it's not. It's full of the leaky bucket. So that's just what that is.
So it's a paradise, is what you're telling me.
It's supposed to be a paradise. But then there's the leaky bucket.
That's what I'm saying. There's
like the verruca on the foot of Shyvana.
Paradises.
It sounds a lot like there's a bigger divide between like the high society, like the inventors and stuff like that, and also like the street rats. Like there's a bigger divide, and there's not much between that.
Yeah, 100%. Like you're either people who are working at what used to be temples and are now this, that, and the other. And obviously you have the Athanar family, Ennis, of whom Gref broke the horn off.
He shouldn't
So
have
yeah,
been a
you
dick.
have that high living society. And then you have the scum who work by the dock and the rest of us.
Nobody who works on the dock is a dick.
Yeah, so there we go. That's Kino. That's Kino, baby. All right.
Does feel like you're painting the world like Discora. You would definitely, if it was a painting, it's definitely with a very fine tool. And Kino, on the other hand, you're painting with a very thick brush.
I would say it is very big and bold.
I think Kino is much more of a like V is throwing like paint buckets against the canvas, and the shape of the canvas is what creates the art. Like V is just hands off, just like, all right, splush. Oh, that ended up nice. Huh, couldn't have seen that coming.
This is a emotional piece. It's not about where the paint lands; it's how the paint is thrown. That's I'm good at this shit. Jesus Christ.
Do you need me to? Are you getting carpal tunnel syndrome? Do I need to get you some bandages?
Nope, I'm still good. I can go for hours, baby.
Should I get a plane ticket to Iceland?
Please. So, all right then, Kessie, what have you got?
Okay, in the old tradition that Aethor set up, let's do honorable mentions first.
No, this breaks my brain.
I approve.
Okay, fine. Let's do honorable mentions. Go ahead.
The bonus round.
Oh, God.
So one of my honorable mentions is, first of all, like, I have two inventions that are made like in some place else in the world that are supposed to fix one problem that we fix in a completely different way. And I love seeing how that kind of stuff evolved in a different kind of place. For example, like calendar systems. That I love that. Like the Asians, the Chinese had the ancient lunars, not ancient lunar, the lunar system, and the Aztecs had like their weird calendar and that kind of thing, and stuff like that really inspires me. Like just a few weeks ago or days ago, I posted in our dice channel that I saw like a D12 that was made in ancient Joseon, which was ancient Korea, which they used for drinking. and they had like another kind of dice that was 5. Like it was like a tube that had like flat edges, and along the flat edges they would just carve like 1, 2, 3, or up to 5 scratches in there, and that was their dice. It was not a cube, and I absolutely love that kind of stuff. And that was my inspiration for Auril, like just a guy that creates something that is partially made with magic and partially made with others, with real life material, and see how what he would come up with if this was not the normal way of creating it. That was number 1. And the second one is a book series called The Books of the Raksura by Martha Wells, which takes place in a world that is completely inhabited by non-humans. All of the characters are they're not furries. They're like more alien in type, like more different appendages and stuff, like, you know. And one of the things that inspired me about the writing in the world was that each race had its own way of communicating that like not just a verbal communication, but also like they use their vocal cords in different ways. Like, for example, they growl and snarl at each other, they hiss at each other, and that was used as a form of communication.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was reading that, I read it as an audiobook. Don't hold me to it when I say reading. It in my head, that made absolute sense for something like that to be in an audio drama where you like characters actually use their vocal cords in different ways. And they also had like because they had like these different appendages, like tails and gills and stuff like that. They were called spines. Like sometimes they would bristle and stand up, and that sort of body language would enter their proverbs and the way they communicated. And I really love that, and that's one of the inspirations I had for Counterbalance.
Yep. I do love
you see all of that.
I love that shit. I love that shit. It's when the world has a vocabulary that you don't expect, but then when you think about the vocabulary, it makes complete sense. It's what was it? It's why I my fucking brain breaks every time you're watching like a movie that doesn't have clocks, like a world that doesn't have clocks, and somebody says, "Give me a minute." It kills me. It kills me.
Yes, same.
Yeah.
Your first honorable mentions about using nature to create something different that we would take for granted, like a clock is just like, you know, a sundial, but they do a different way of counting time.
In China, not China, in Joseon, in ancient Korea, they invented like a water clock that runs on like water just dripping out of a bucket.
Yeah, that's dope.
Yeah,
but
I love that shit.
Things like that. So when you created Tauri and you brought forth the kits, and we knew the kits were going to be taken, we just didn't know how or why. And the idea that I knew that this was going to be a very nature-based place, I know that you're a very nature-based person, and that's why I created a new god for the kits. Is based around the idea of like, they use wild creation. It's not just like, I'm going to put together 2 sticks and I'm going to create the bridge this way. No, they're just doing stuff and things get created, and they're just slightly different from the normal way that we would have things be. So your inspiration for that has also inspired certain things to appear in TLD.
I have to say, though, since you're bringing up Tauri's backstory, it totally broke my brain when you suddenly said the village had a forge. I was like, excuse me, what?
Yep. They need to. They have a forge. If you're going to have things like anything metal, you've got to have a forge, mate. So yeah. Also, I need there to be a forge.
That broke my brain, because I was like, for a forge, they also need like a coaler and like a mine.
You don't necessarily need coal. Not necessarily, especially when you have magic users. You can just,
I guess,
fire and that's your shit. Put a bunch of big old rocks in there and you'll probably be fine. So yeah, like, needed to have a forge. We had one. Great. All right, I'm gonna do my honorable mentions really quick. First is the iron disulfide episode because that is so different from everything else we've ever fucking done or made. And that is directly related to Diablo 3.
Of course.
There is a place called Whimsydale. I think it's called Whimsydale. And that literally is you kill a treasure goblin and then you have access to the kind of like Care Bear version of Diablo 3 for a round. And that's how Iron Disulfur came out. That is directly related to that. I didn't know it existed until Skageth and Rethix ran me through that. So they're both to blame for that. And that is why Rethix is also on that episode because he partially inspired it. I also have to, apart from the all of you creating wonderful inspirations to create TLD, directly Kessie, actually, yes, I'm continuing to wank off Kessie because I need to. Kessie and I were talking about a thing, an idea, a logo, something for season 2 of TLD, and I'd mentioned that there were going to be 3 interlocking circles with a bigger circle that interlocks all of them, the same kind of symbol that had been used before on the Prisoner 3. And we were talking about this will be made of bones and this will be this. And I'm like, yeah, well, the big one will be made of sand because that's squash. And Kessie's like, but if we're going to do the things, they should be the strengths and the positives of the character. I'm like, oh my God, I can use sand as a positive for Squash because he can just become sand. He can just become
Sandman.
The Sandman. No, he can become the timekeeper because they always have sundials. So sand clocks, sorry. So you're directly responsible for the timekeeper that Squash is.
God damn it, Cassie.
I did this to you and I can hear how much you hate it.
No, I love it. Like, I genuinely was like...
Aetho.
Oh, yeah.
I hear how much he hates it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was genuinely like, I have ideas for everyone. They've already developed Squash. Like, I'm not 100% sure what to do with it, but I'll figure it out. Like, I can put this in and we'll make this work. Yada, yada, yada. I know he's doing the whole magic thing. I can make this work. And then you said that it should be a strength. It's on here. I'm like, oh, holy shit. And it just literally went off like a fucking light bulb in my brain. And I had to stop everything I was doing at that minute and write everything out that I had just thought. And it hasn't really changed much since then. So Kessie's my inspiration.
Yay!
I love you.
I love you too.
And then also for a future project, Day of the Triffids and Little Shop of Horrors. That's it. I'm done. I'm not talking anymore about them. I have to mention it. All right, let's do our number ones. Let's start with Kessie.
It's me again. Hi.
Yeah, it's you again.
So my number 1 is an anime called Mushishi, which is about a guy basically traveling through, I guess, feudal Japan on foot, and his job is to take care of little parasitic spirit things that no one can actually see. Like, he's one of the people that can see them, but the people that he encounters notice that something is wrong with them, and they tell him when he comes across them, they tell him of what is bothering them, and he can already tell that there are spirits at play, so he tries to fix these things for them. And that was a massive inspiration for a counterbalance, because I was like, oh my God, I love this anime because I just like the entire aspect of these are spirits, no one can see them, and they interact with human lives in ways that the humans cannot tell what is wrong. But like, they know something is wrong, but they don't know how to fix it because they don't know how to interact with them. And also the anime is really great because it deals with actually really creepy topics in a massively chill way. It's like one of the chillest animes I've ever seen. Everything is extremely calm. And I just love this contrast between those two aspects. Yeah.
How long is the series?
I think it's either 12 episodes or 24 episodes, but it's 2 seasons.
Okay.
I think I've seen the first episode of that.
Would you genuinely recommend this as a watch?
Yes, absolutely. Like, if we do an episode of top 3 animes, this would be on there.
We can't do top 3
I
animes.
don't know.
All of us would have Full Metal Alchemist on the list, and I would just lose my mind.
Yay! Finally.
Yeah, but mine would
crossover.
be. I can only do 2 because I think I've only watched 2, and the other ones I didn't like. So I
These
have
are the 3
Full Metal
animes
Alchemist.
I've seen.
No,
Period.
2, Neil. 2, because everything else I watched I wouldn't consider top, and they'd be there by. I didn't even finish them.
Accident.
I would have Full Metal Alchemist because Aethel made me watch it all, and I genuinely enjoyed it, and High School of the Dead, which everyone looks down on. So they were my 2. That's all I'd have.
Watch Mushishi, and then you can include that too because it's really good.
There you go. Then you'll share 2 things with Cassie.
Yay! Finally, crossover.
Yay. Wait, does Avatar: The Lost Airbender count?
No.
I know.
It's not an anime.
I know you say
not
no,
an
Cassie, but it is
it is
animated
not.
by Koreans. Thusly,
The story is not written by a Asian person. I just watched a analysis the other day that there is a cultural uncanny valley happening in Avatar.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is why it is not popular in Asian countries, or like it's not popular, but most people don't give it a chance because they are like, oh, this does not reflect. Like it looks like something we would relate to, but it does not reflect our values.
the first episode stinks of Western animation. Stinks.
You should give Death Note a shot, though, because I think it's pretty accessible, and I think that I didn't watch it for a very long time. I let the hype go and pass, and I was like, I don't care about any of this. And then I watched it, and I was like, okay, all right.
I read I have the books on the wall.
Yeah. It's a good anime. I did enjoy that one. Now we're talking about anime.
No, I'm so sorry. Tangent.
So yeah, you would definitely recommend Mushishi.
Yes, absolutely.
All right.
Like if you enjoy this, each episode is it's an anthology. It's not connected. The only crossover is the main character and those spirit creatures called the Mushishi, and everything else is completely new every episode. So you can just watch an episode if you don't like it. Maybe try another one and see if you like that. If you still don't like it, then maybe it's not for you.
So it's like fine to watch it out of order, basically.
Yes, if you want to.
Would you kill me for comparing it to Samurai Jack?
The thing is, I have not watched Samurai Jack. So
Boo, Cassie! Boo, Cassie! I should have put Samurai Jack on the top fucking anime intro. Not anime intro. Just...
I want to see the new Puss in Boots movie.
Do it!
I know.
Do it, Neil!
It looks good. Who else seen the trailer for that?
It looks great, and I've heard it's good.
Looks good. I'm a child.
I don't think I've watched.
I'm a child and I like
any
cats.
of them. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe I should just change your 4 top 3 avatar to a cat instead of a person.
You should. You should start
please, no.
slowly furifying his avatar.
You can put cats in my picture all day, but I'm not a cat. Don't make
Sorry,
me a cat
Neil.
person,
He's not a
please.
cat girl!
History
Don't
will
make
not
me a
look
cat
kindly
person.
upon your furry agenda, Neil.
Yeah, you can't make me a cat person on the internet, please.
Okay, I'll just put a cat on your shoulder.
Yes,
How about that?
Yes, that would be very good.
all right.
I would like that.
The fact that you
Or on
said
his shirt.
please communicates so much more than anything could
I'm
have.
not in control here. I don't. You can do whatever you want. I'm begging you. Don't. Oh.
Oh,
I would have to explain myself and the fact that you did this to me.
Fuck me.
All right, I promise not to turn Avatar Neil into a cat, but I will give him a cat.
Okay.
On the shirt!
Oh, fuck me. Oh, fuck me, that's funny. Oh, fuck. How are we gonna get back to where we were on this?
Whose turn is it?
Just put this as a blooper.
Season 2, we now have bloopers.
Oh, I think we do in one of the. It doesn't really matter. Mushishi.
Yep, I found it.
Thank you.
The guy has a purple scarf and white hair.
Yeah. And
Thank you for spelling that, because I would have 100% not spelt it like that.
I tried to make Sis watch it, but the issue with the title of the thing is Muschi means pussy in German. I could not get Sis to watch it.
Well, that's fair.
No, I don't think that's fair. I think I've told you about the Pokemon problem in Iceland.
I learned a fun thing today.
Good luck using it in the actual world.
Oh. Okay. Well, there we go.
Also, just to say it, because I just looked at the artwork myself, like what comes up when you Google it.
Mm-hmm.
The guy appears to be smoking the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
He is not actually smoking. It's like an incense kind of thing, because he cannot stay in a place for too long. Otherwise, he draws Mushishi towards him. And that thing is supposed to repel Mushishi.
Okay, I thought it was just a cool guy smoking. You kind of ruined that.
Yeah.
You kind of ruined that.
No,
I'm
really
not watching
cool,
Mushishi
and now
anymore.
he's really lame.
Okay.
Is there a 4Kids version where he's actually smoking? They did the opposite of what they did to One Piece.
No, but they changed his cigarette to finger.
Content warning: smoking is cool.
Oh, wow.
Do I have to do a legal disclaimer now? I lied.
This podcast does not endorse cigarettes.
That was it. I lied. It was a joke.
I'll record a proper disclaimer. I'll insert it just here.
Oh.
All right. Thank you for that, Kessie. We shall add that to our to-watch list.
Yes, we will.
For sure.
Yes, we will.
All right, Aethel, what have you got?
Oh, I've got a hell of a downer for you guys.
Okay,
Aww.
Normally that's my job at the end, is to just give something that's going to tank the mood, but you can take it away.
No. So my top inspiration is, of course, squash. And just upfront, content warning, I'm going to be talking about fictional child abuse. I don't think there's a better way to phrase it than that. So I created squash when I was in a bit of a slump and had been in a bit of a slump for a couple of years in my life. And I'd been enjoying a lot of like kind of dark and depressing content. And top of that would have to be a weird RPG Maker video game series called Hello Charlotte, if I remember correctly. Let me just go grab the name. Now, I don't play RPG Maker games. They don't make me happy. They don't entertain me. But I watched a fantastic Let's Play by a YouTuber called Manly Badass Hero. And you will find the link to his video series in the doobly-doo. I don't recommend watching it. It is very upsetting. It's not super entertaining. And only the first really like 2 or 3 episodes really ever pertain to squash in any way. But when I created squash, I wanted to create a character that had gone through so much bullshit that once you I wanted to start him at a bad spot, and I wanted you to not really root for him. But once you understood the amount of bullshit he's gone through, you would not forgive him for what he's doing right now, but you would understand how he came to that end. Like, you were not supposed to just go out and out like, oh yeah, no, squash, like, I forgive you for everything. No, you were just supposed to go like, yeah, that's kind of inevitable, isn't it? Like, that was just, you were dealt a raw hand. Nobody would have made much better of that. So I watched the show, this game called Hello Charlotte, and in it kind of pushes to the forefront the unbridled positivity of children, even in the face of the most upsettingly terrible situations. And that's a lot of what I was bringing to Squash before the beginning episode for him. And on top of that, I had also watched a series called Made in Abyss, which are also about the unbridled positivity of children in face of just unbearable bleakness. And that was just something that was in my head at that moment. So I created Squash from a very, very weirdly dark and depressing place. And I just wanted to create that character that was used to have that positivity, and it had kind of been stolen from him and morphed into something kind of ugly. And yeah, so I don't recommend checking out anything in the description for my top pick, but That's where it is. If you are in a 5-year slump and in a weirdly dark place, go ahead, check it out. It's going to just make you more miserable. But hey, it brought a lot of happiness to my life by the end of it, because I've managed to transform it through squash into something that inspires me to keep creating, because I'm very just exceptionally happy with what has happened with squash. And yeah.
He has certainly been on a journey. But actually, like when we were first creating squash, you were talking about this very idea of having someone you come across is a complete, you're not with them. You just think they're just an awful person. And then you learn about their past and you can just draw the lines between, that's how we got here. And that very much decided how and when his backstory was going to be released into the main feed. Because if you listen to Squash's backstory first, you kind of understand where he's coming from and why he ended up a bit of a douchebag. But you don't outright, as soon as you meet Squash, you would just be like, yeah, it's fine, I understand. You don't have the visceral, like, who the fuck is this clown? What is this? It's far more impactful to find that out afterwards. And I think we kind of managed to achieve that. So good choices. I mean, I'm not happy that you were in a shitty place, but like,
we all go through things when we're... Life is not a straight line. Life is not a highway. Life is not a beautifully paved road that just got asphalted last week and now it's just slick and beautiful and you can barely even hear the tread of your tires. No, life is a bunch of back alleys and roads, and you have to shovel your driveway.
Getting lost and following the wrong GPS signal.
Your phone runs out of battery. You have to take a taxi to a train to an airplane to a taxi to a Uber who doesn't show up. Like, life's not simple. It's a journey, and we all go through bullshit. But the best we can do is just make something good out of our lives, and that's what I wanted Squash to also do. I want him to be offered a second chance and to take it.
We talked about YouTube rabbit holes. Have you watched the Petscop thing?
Yeah.
That's something that I've absorbed through analysis. Isn't that very child abuse? I don't think it's happy, children in that one, but...
It hadn't gotten there when I was watching the analysis of it. But yeah, a lot of this, like, kind of... these kind of, like, horror... Like
very dark
cutesy,
themed.
Yeah, not cutesy, but like these horror dark things. They often like Five Nights at Freddy's has a lot of like kind of like these dark things to children kind of thing. Highly recommend. Don't play the Five Nights at Freddy games. They don't have any of the story, but I highly recommend going and finding like a 40-minute boil down of the story of Five Nights at Freddy's. It's so inventive and fantastic. It's weird as shit, and it's just fun. I've already created a D&D city, like a town with a mission based solely around the Five Nights at Freddy's lore, and nobody's gonna know it's Five Nights at Freddy's because nobody knows the real lore. The lore is so fucking wacky.
What do you mean you've created a D&D mission around this?
You haven't.
Who's playing this game, Aethel?
You haven't played it. It's in the back of my brain.
Okay, all right. I was like, wait a minute. I only know 2 D&D games. 1, you still have the Patreon, and 2, we're playing.
Well,
at home, not like on air.
No, I think I was definitely going to throw it in our home game.
Oh, okay, great. Well, I'm not...
I remember when we first met in New Jersey, when we were doing not an AMA, it might have been an AMA, when Travis pulled us into the room and was like, hey, we're doing a live stream and we're going to answer questions live on stream. And I think someone asked what everyone's favorite anime was. And you answered back then that yours at the time was Made in Abyss.
Yep.
And I remember just like a few weeks later, Squash came onto the main team.
Yeah.
Yeah, I exactly know. I can time you.
Yeah. We were trying. Because we'd obviously played Dark Dice, the 3 of us, before. We went to the White Vault house as a nice little icebreaker. And And after I'd played with Aethel, I'm like, okay, I need to invite him on to TOD because we're looking for guest players. Fuck it. He's really good. And I know I can roleplay with him. So perfect person. I want him aboard. And we were trying to make Squash in the White Vault House, but every single time we managed to sit the fuck down. Travis like, we're doing something different. I'm like, but we're not rehearsing, are we? No, we're doing something else. I'm like, oh, Jesus fucking Christ.
Team building.
Yay! I just want to make a nerdy D&D character, Travis. Fuck you.
So we managed to sneak out of the house twice. One time,
Yep.
Tanya came with us, and the other time Cassie came with us.
Yep.
Not leaving you two alone,
Nope.
bitches.
We were not allowed to
I know
be
where
left
this
alone.
is going. I saw what you did the next morning when we left you in the,
We were just
in the bedroom
trying to create
alone.
D&D characters.
Yeah,
There's
yeah,
nothing
sure.
untoward going on here.
That's not what Cassie's talking about.
I know what Cassie's talking about.
I'm going to do my top, the only one left, 4 top 3s.
No,
It's Neil. V.
Neil?
Have I been doing that? I thought I've been going
No.
around in a circle.
No.
See,
I
this is
haven't
why
picked one yet.
Honorable Mentions needs to be last, Aethel.
Okay.
I'm losing my shit.
My,
Why don't you have any?
and
You're breaking my brain. Why?
and that's the end of my top 1. Over to you, Neil.
What do y'all want to hear? What theme do you want me to pull? What vibe?
saddest
What vibe
one.
do you want? Do you want something loud? Do you want some sad? Do you want like
The loudest sad song you have.
the what? I mean, I have a very loud song.
God damn it, Aethel.
Well, I just made it very depressing. V, how's your top 1 gonna be?
It's very bland.
Okay, Neil, you can take it wherever you want.
Okay. We'll just do a fast one then, which is a loud one.
Okay.
Because the other ones are also long. They're long songs. Like, when you get into sad, depressing songs, they're not often like 3 minutes.
So not loud,
So,
no.
yeah. No, so this song was just a loud song. A lot of loud songs made it onto Raw's playlist to try to kind of get that vibe of pain and emotion into his playlist other than just his sad stuff, because he's also a fighter. You know, he deals with a lot of pain. His life wasn't always like incredibly sad, but it was always very painful.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this was just one of the loud, quick songs on his playlist that I thought fit him. It's called Evan Perks by the Chariot. Yeah, screamy song, just a quick burst of energy song. But when I was making Raw's playlist, I put it on there because I thought it fit.
Holy shit. Wait. How is this Raul? Like, I'm not telling you you're wrong. He's your character. Clearly you're right. But how is this Raul?
I guess the lyrics?
I mean, we can dive into lyrics, I guess, but I'm not sure. Like I said, because I only look at lyrics for very vague, things. Yeah. I don't know what this song is about. It seems pretty abstract to me, and I've kept it that way. I didn't overly research this or anything.
No problem,
but yeah,
no problem.
just the very, very loud, sounds very painful. This was very much kind of in my mind, especially with the last bits. Excluding
I think the last bits are definitely 100% Raul themed words. SEO.
Excluding the word fake, like this relationship, there's disappointed, I know you are. Excluding the word fake there, I think that disappointed, I know you are. It just makes me think of his situation after Emma's death and how he would
Also, he breaks into death
he's mad at himself
and beats up the specters.
Yeah, it's just a very loud pain song. It's just a loud noisy rock guitar song.
It was loud and screamy. So if you're going to listen to this, I recommend you turn your speaker down by like 50%.
I gave it like 5
But
seconds
I get it.
and it didn't stop. But I was like, okay, I have to turn this down.
I have my headphones.
I put my headphones to the mic just in case it was able to pick it up.
Other of the things on Rawls that were in my rotation back in the day that I can remember were, again, Have a Nice Life. There's a song called Dan and Tim Reunited by Fate that I was listening to a lot. There's a couple songs by Oh Brother off of the album, I think it's called Death of Day. That whole album I pretty much listened to, but Ascension was big on my playlist. It's just kind of themed around death. It doesn't necessarily connect to Raw in many other ways, but and Oh Brother has a song called Absence, which I was listening to a lot. Big Deal has a song called Close Your Eyes, and Balance and Composure has a song called Stone Hands. All of those were...
I think you will need to make a playlist for the show notes later.
I think the Spotify playlist applies, right?
Yeah, it probably needs to be updated. Go through it,
just a tad.
It, change some things. I could definitely update it, add some newer things, but some things that I might not have thought to add at the time.
Yeah, and obviously whatever is now on Rao's brain, because I think even if we put songs that are spoilers, it's not going to make any sense until we get there.
Yeah.
So yeah, like we have a Spotify playlist for the Foreign Discorer. Casey put a great one together for Bogrim before Bogrim's reveal, and I put one together for Demi.
Now Bogrim's song is just "Fuck You."
Yeah, I might just actually just ask Casey to remove everything except the "Fuck You" by CeeLo song. One day we will release the shitty parody version that we made of that for Bogrim, but that day is not today.
It's still too fresh for me.
It's still too fresh. It's too soon. Too soon. I think that's like 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, there are definitely like sadder vibe songs that I have on Raw's playlist, but I definitely did like kind of reach for some louder things intentionally to kind of embody the pain aspect of Raw, because when we were initially talking about Raw, it was going to be sad, but up until Prison, he had kind of a sad life, but he himself wasn't necessarily all completely broken like he is now. Or like he was.
I mean, he had a place to live that he had earned. He had someone who cared about him. He had a good friend.
In fact, I think that we talked a lot
Raw.
about how at the beginning I was going to be a little bit mean. Raw was going to be short-tempered. He doesn't want to deal with strangers. He wants to be left alone. He's in a bad place. He's going to be in his worst mood. And if you're someone who knows somebody, or you yourself has dealt with a lot of pain before, it affects your mood. You know?
Yeah.
So I was definitely going to lean into Raw being very resistant. He was going to push back a lot. You know, he was going to be a little bit angsty.
Yeah.
Yeah. For the reason of pain.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you'd also mentioned that him not being great with new people, because that's more things to deal with, but he was also quite loyal, and he always had been.
Yeah.
So
once you get his once you've earned his trust, you've earned it. Like once you're a friend, you're a friend. But he does not.
I mean, he still carries that resistance over even to new people that they meet. Like when he met Squash, one of the first things he did after Squash was a complete dickhead was to threaten him with acid. So like he still has
He's not
that
a good
in there.
person. I'll kill you.
Yeah, but also you didn't know that Squash's greatest upset and worry and fear was acid. So that was just like fucking mwah.
I think if you listen to the episodes knowing that Squash is afraid of acid, you will notice me mentioning like Squash is always staying away from Raoul.
Oh, yep. Squash still doesn't very much like Raoul. You do, but you like to keep your distance.
Just
the sizzling, man, the sizzling.
Yeah.
Funnily enough,
once that's done, we'll be best friends. It'll be great.
Zaltana is like the best friend to both of them.
It's wild.
Yes.
It's wild.
Oh, well, thank you. My ears don't thank you, but thank you for that. And then we'll put a link to the Spotify playlist and whatever playlist that Neil wants to add to that as well. We'll put that somewhere in the show notes. My 4 top 3s inspiration comes from 2 places, really. First of all, it comes from a very old old point of contention between us, which is how milkshakes are made. Being that it's made with ice cream, and I argue that's not a milkshake, it's made with milk. It's a milkshake. Anyway, that's really the point. It's not the point. And how, like, the two different, America and the UK and whatever countries do those things different. It's called the same thing, but it's different. And I also have a great interest in, I find the things that the YouTube channel called Watcher create, I find them quite interesting. And they did this show called Top 5 Beatdown, where they argue about completely asinine shit, like the top 5 flavors of crisps or chips or whatever the guys you call them. And I thought that was quite funny because they were arguing about the stupidest and dumbest of shit. And then I sat down and thought about the fact that all 4 of us come from 4 different countries. And when I say things like pants, it means something very different to everybody in this call. And I just kind of thought that, hey, like, if we decide to pick random topics like our favorite Disney movie, we're all going to have different experiences of that based on where we were born, based on the languages that we speak, based on how we grew up, because we all have quite different childhoods as well. We all come from different, not just geographically, but also everything. Almost everything is different about all of us. And I thought that'll be an interesting thing to talk about. And also, I really like the people in this call, and I don't get to talk to you often enough because I can't talk to people where I go, I'm going to pick up the phone and go, hi, Neil, how are you doing? I can't do that. I need a reason and excuse to... Yeah,
Stop.
Even text messages are hard. I am making myself do it because I want to stay in contact with certain people that I care about. And I wanted a good excuse to hang out with the people on this call. And I thought, if we can share the dumb shit that we talk about and share our experiences and the things that we never knew existed. And I also like to think we're quite funny. So yeah, like watching them argue over the most asinine things, and then shortly the milkshake conversation came up in the TLD Discord. Shortly after I'd been watching that again, I thought this might be a great idea to combine the two. And there are 4 of us, and we all talk a lot, and I wanted to share experiences. So it was not going to be 5.
Shout out,
and we weren't going to be railing on each other
for naming Hagen and Baskin and all of my characters.
Oh my god, there's something else. Oh my god, there was something I named after an ice cream
Tio.
specifically because of you, Tio. Yep. So yeah.
What kind of ice cream is Tio?
I think I want to say it's probably I don't know. It's probably in a European language for ice cream. I don't know.
Shout out to ice cream for being the best snack when it's cold outside and you just got inside a house.
Shout out to ice cream, bro.
Shout out to ice cream, bro.
We love you, man.
Yeah.
We love you, ice cream. You're the best.
Pour one out for ice cream.
You're awesome.
Except the ice cream. Don't pour it out. Eat it. So yeah, it was a combination of things that inspired 4 top 3s. My love for wanting to hang out with you guys and having a reason and an excuse to hang out. The conversation about milkshake, about what it should and shouldn't be made of, depending where you were born. Yeah, and top 5 beatdown on Watcher. So there you go. That's my inspiration for this. This is why this dumb thing came up.
And this was the last episode of 4 Top 3. Thank you for listening. We love
Thank
you.
you
Until next
so
month.
much for listening.
Thank you. Hear you again, maybe never.
Until.
So yeah, that's that. That's 4 top 3s. I'm going to figure out. No, I'm going to randomly determine who is next.
I'm
to pick a topic.
I'm so excited to
Preparing your beard.
I'm so excited.
I'm on the edge of my seat, Fee.
Oh, are you?
I'm so excited.
Oh,
It's either
okay.
gonna be that person or this person.
It's really funny because Kessie's doing physical jokes on an audio
Visual
podcast.
jokes.
Well, according to this algorithm that I have created for the show,
is it one of those
Oh,
like?
by algorithm, you mean dice roll?
No. It's
no, algorithm.
It's one of those.
Based on
It's one of those artificial intelligences that makes art and like
Just
fake
because-
You consulted Google
Just because
Analytics?
you have to type /roll doesn't make you a code maker, computer person.
Well, no, there's a complicated
dice.
algorithm that is based on our names and how much we've spoken in the episode, and based on
And
the history
our
of how many
zodiac
times.
sign.
All the important things.
and under which
Yeah.
star we were born in the year.
Yes.
Mhm.
And according
and in
to
what
this,
country. and
according
what
to
the
this
second letter of each country
Also, we
is.
drew straws once.
and, it's also based
I
on your
haven't
blood
added that to
type.
the algorithm. Oh God, you're right. I need to add the straws to the algorithm. You're right. But it looks like, according to the complex algorithm, it's Neil.
Oh, wow.
What?
Oh my!
I know.
Fuck, I didn't expect that.
Whoa.
Shit.
So yeah, Neil, you're
Mhm.
once every 6 months.
Mhm. Your algorithm, huh?
Yes, the algorithm. That's the term.
Mhm. How about top 3 things that annoy you? Number 1, algorithm. Number 2, algorithm. Number
peeves,
3,
yeah.
algorithm.
Hang on, let me see what the algorithm says on the third. Yeah, it's algorithm.
I don't know if that's going to be it, but
Oh,
could be.
We'll figure
Could
it
be.
out. We'll figure it out between episodes.
Could be.
Anyway, thank you all so much for listening. Thank you, Kessie, for suggesting this topic, because I found this interesting and I found this fun to talk about shit.
I mean, for 2 people that complained they had nothing, we've already recorded 2.5 hours.
3
Exactly.
of them
Yeah,
are
so-
just telling you your shit for picking this topic.
Well, I'm telling you.
Listen, I already knew that.
I spent the
know
last
you
2
hate
hours wanking, so it's been fantastic. So
Yeah.
let's
Oh,
end this episode
the end
there
we
on
all
a
came.
end it on a climax. Am I doing this right?
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you all so much for listening, and we shall see you in a month. Bye.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Okay,
Bye. 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 Bye.
Bye.
Okay, I'm gonna hit stop. Hi everyone, it's V here. Thank you so much for listening. Apologies first of all for being a little bit late. We've been dealing with some sicknesses, but everything is a-okay now and we're back on schedule. This was a lot of fun for me because I got to hear about where Counterbalance came from and how all that kind of originated. It's really fascinating, and I also love sharing about some of the strange reasons why TLD is the way that it is. It would really help us out if you could leave us a review basically anywhere that you could leave a review, or tell someone down the road from where you live, hey, go listen to this podcast. It's awesome. If you think it's awesome, you know what I mean. I think that's it for this month. Thank you so much for listening, and have a wonderful month. Bye. This has been a Blighthouse Studio production. Thank you for listening. Whoa. Honourable mentions.
I don't have any honorable mentions. Cassie already fucked me all the way to the fucking Sunday. I'm going to end this as soon as I can.
Okay, well, before you get on to your number 1, let's finish up the honourable mentions first.
Okay.
You're going to destroy my brain. This is how I forgot that Kessie hadn't done its number 1.
Are you trying to
It's
make
because-
everybody do their honorable mentions at the same time?
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead
Yes.
and ruin this for you and break your brain, V. But I haven't even decided my number 1 yet, and the rest are gonna be
Oh my
honorable
God.
mentions.
What are you? No. I had a very simple system. It is, when it's my turn, I do a couple of honorable mentions and then I boss on my number 1.
Okay, if you want me to go right on to my number 1, then instead, just so we can continue.
I have honourable
fine with me.
mentions. That's
Sorry.
fine.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Like, fucking delete everything I said. No, I don't have any honorable mentions. Neil.
No. Oh, well, yes. But later.
So you can decide which one is the...
Yeah. So I can decide.
Okay. It's
gonna
which
roll
one
a
is
dice.
my number 1.
I do that sometimes too when I have a giant list of stuff. Like, whichever comes out of my mouth at the time becomes number 1, everything else
Yeah.
becomes honourable
I'm just gonna ask y'all what y'all want to hear.
Sorry.
What do you want?